today's site. This house I cannot find on any atlas at all, not a single one. Now the only thing I know about this house is from the book that I showed you in How to Find a Place to Metal Detect. The book tells me that this is a folk national house, family style. So most likely it was built in the late 1800s or early 1900s. This house has not been lived in for 15 years. The landowner is Amish. I've been trying to get in contact with him for a long time about metal detecting here. You can notice that there's no bushes and a lot of things have been removed. That's because this will be the first and last time that I will be able to metal detect this house, because it gets tore down in probably the next 2 days. So this is our only chance to hunt this yard. Now one thing I do know is that somebody else has metal detected this yard prior to me. Now that doesn't scare me too much, but there are some things that mentally we go through when we know that places have been metal detected. Here's some of the things that go through my head whenever I'm metal detecting a site that's already been metal detected. First off is, did the person before have a basic machine, just a beginner setup, or did they have top of the line? Now, and on top of that, did they know how to run that top of the line machine? Did they really understand those settings in order to maximize the effectiveness of that machine? Are they good enough to get out and grid the ground and touch every point of this yard? You know, did they leave big gaps? Did they just swing through, you know, trying to look for 80 signals and just cherry picking and then got out of here? You know, there's a lot of targets that come in iffy that a lot of people don't ever dig. And there's a lot of targets that come up in the 80s that sound like a pop can and turn out being a Civil War belt buckle. So it happens. Now, other things to think about is time of the year that that person came here. We know that this house has not been lived in 15 years. So if that detectors came in the last 15 years, was somebody mowing this ground? You know, coming here every week and taking care of the grass when it's grown up? You know, there may have been patches to metal detect in and the rest of it was grown this high and tall in grass and it was unable to be detected. So right now it's all down. It's been mowed and maintained because the new owner of this ground has maintained it. I can metal detect the whole entire site. So there may have been a huge difference on what was able to be detected back then as well. So just because a place has been metal detected doesn't mean that it's, you know, wore out and, you know, there's no targets left. Don't be too scared when somebody tells you that, you know, a place has already been metal detected. Today we're going to do something just a little bit different. I'm going to run the MX Sport and as well as the V3i in a gridded out area about 30 feet by 30 feet. I'm going to go through and mark all the MX Sport signals with a yellow golf tee. I'm going to write on the VDI numbers that are coming up with a permanent marker on the golf tee. And I'm going to drive it in the ground and I'm going to grid it off and get all the targets that it'll pick up. Then I'm going to go through with the V3i and see if it gets any additional targets that this machine missed. Then we'll go back and dig all the signals and see what happens. So here's the MX Sport. We're in coin and jewelry. We're at sensitivity of 8. Everything's running stable, and I have the 13-inch DTEC coil on because it's the only common coil that I have between both the V3i and the Sport. Might not be optimal for this site, but that's what we have to run. So there we go. I'm going to show some of these, but not all of them. I've been hunting a very long time, pretty much the whole front yard inside my grid. You can see there's like barely anything. Right there, say it's 7 inches. This is my first target today that I could really get to repeat any. And it's not the best. 62, 35, 52, 30, 69. We'll just say it's between a 30 and a 70. Somewhere right there. It's the next repeatable one. It is slim pickings out here, that's for sure. Ultra deep, 12, 10 inches. Let's say it's 73, 74. Let's do 70 to 74. Got a target there at 6 inches. It's all over. We'll just call it an iffy. Between mainly in the 30s. I'm gonna call it a 30s, even though it shows a lot of other stuff. Well, that's it for the MX Sport. It's actually starting to warm up a little bit out here, which is great. So I'm going to get the V3i out and see how close I can get it to the same settings. As we're sweeping over top of those targets, if we find new ones that the MX Sport didn't, we'll just go ahead and dig them. Programs, coin and jewelry selected. Loop selection is going to be on the Super 12 because it's the closest size I can get. Sensitivity, I'm going to try at 12 because that's relative to where I had the setting of the 8 on the MX Sport. 90 on discrimination, 70 on all metal. 7.5 bandpass, recovery delay, I'm going to bring it down to 50. Here's the target here that I did not hit with the MX Sport, but I started right exactly right here. There's 5 inches deep and it reads 60, 57, nice and smooth, 4 inches deep. Still in the hole. And you can see the middle bar, the 7.5, I think it is. 7.5's picking up the signal. So that's a middle tone kilohertz signal that's actually reading that. So where the MX Sport is 14.5, I believe, double that signal. So here's target number 1 of the day. It's just a ring, nothing special. I don't know what that is. I'll clean it up. It may be some kind of something for piping or whatever. All right, move to the next. It's target number 2 at 9 inches. 84, 91, 89. A lot of red in there. Does drop into the 80s some. Let's just pull a plug on that one. As you can tell, I didn't have a golf tee on this one either. See if it's still in the hole. It's reading 83, 85 now. A lot less red. Let's see if we can get onto this target. It's definitely down in there still. Doesn't seem all that large. It's right here on the edge of the hole, down here. It's now in this, I believe. Let me check it. All right, hit a high tone. It's kind of mixed. It got better as we pulled the plug out. This could just be a piece of junk, piece of flat iron. I'm gonna let this car get by, but as you can tell, we have something. Can't tell what it is yet, but that was, I'm gonna measure that before we get out of here. Whoa. Not real sure about that one. Why do I always find this weird stuff? What is that? I don't know what that is. Hold on. Let me clean it up. It looks like a pin. I thought it was a coin, but that's not much of a US coin. Give me just a minute. Here's what we have, and I always say there's always targets left. Here's this. It looks Greek, possibly Roman, but it's not a coin. It's a pin. You can see on the back that there used to be a fastening device. It's missing the actual pin that held it in place on somebody's clothes. Now, being that it's not tarnished at all, even though it's not marked, I would say that that's silver of some content. I don't know how much purity that is, but either way, that's awesome to me. V3i scored one over the MX Sport. I definitely went over this same exact grid with the Sport versus the V3i. And there's our find. Let me measure this now. I'll have to measure it using my Garrett pinpointer. Found it in a ball about that deep. So, most likely with my coil being above the ground, you know, it's probably at this distance from the dirt, maybe 1.5 inches or so to the tip of this. That's definitely an 8-inch find. My finger there was marking the spot of just a guess. So, we'll say 7, 8 inches deep. So it's a pretty good hit. Let's keep looking. Another unmarked signal. Right there at 9 3/4. Another real high one, shows some red. It's too responsive not to dig it. Let's check the hole now, see what we have. You can hear it gnawing out on it, showing all red. Let's just see if there's something up here. Still in the hole. It's a big piece of glass down in there. Just gonna see if I can find it. I can see whatever that was, and it was totally nulling out when it was in the hole, so there could be 2 targets. Check the hole first, see if it still makes that. It still does. See, it's still showing iron. And see, we're back to a 71, 73. It's something interesting, but there's definitely iron in that hole. So even though it's a great big old coil down there, if you really pay attention and pull stuff out and just don't give up on it, just check. Here's what we have. Let me turn around in the sun so you can see it. I'm not sure what that is. It's round. Could be a button. I don't know. Let me clean it. Could also be just a little washer as well. So that's all we have. But if that was a trime laying down in there, I'd want to find that. About the same size. All right, let's keep going. Well, I dug the first target that was between a 30 and a 70 with the MX Sport. I popped the plug, and then I was getting a little bit of a signal, where in the beginning I was getting 0 signal. It just showed all iron on the V3i. I didn't hit record, but here's what I found. It's just a piece of iron of some sort, and I just dropped it. I'll find it, but that's all I got out of that hole. We're now to a 70 or 74 target. It's right there by the MX Sport. There's an 89. Rest of the time, it's showing red. There's an 88. Maybe you can see it there on the left-hand side of the screen, just a bunch of red. Let's dig it. Let's see if that changes to something else now. 2.5 is the one that's picking it up the best. So I'm gonna say this is a 21, 6, 30. This is what we have. So far, it's looking somewhat like a bullet. Piece of lead. It's a flat piece of something. So we now have one that the V3i would have missed. It looks like 2 hearts, and it says good. Not sure if it's a Valentine's Day thing or what it is. I would have missed this target here for sure with the V3i. I would have not dug that. But with the MX Sport 70 to 74, I would have dug it. So let's move to the next. All right, we're now to an MX Sport 40 signal. Barely showing. Maybe a 4 or a 10 every once in a while. The rest of the time, it's full iron. Target's definitely there. Here's our target. It's some kind of iron strap. I'm not sure what it is. Had 2 holes in the end of it, held down something. So we'll keep moving. Now, I believe this is the last MX Sport target. This is an iffy 30s is what it says. So I'm gonna swing over top of that and see what it is on here. Definitely iffy. 57, 83, 51. Let's dig it out of there. Of course, there's always a big root. Well, I've since took off my coat because I got real hot. I dug a hole that deep in order to pull out this. This is what I found. It's a harmonica reed. It's pretty deep. I'd say it's every bit of 10 inches. So I'm gonna jump up on this old maple stump here and reflect on what we've done so far. We used both the MX Sport and the V3i. Is it to say that both of those coils went over exactly the same spots and that's why one machine found targets over the other one? I can't say that for certain. I'm just swinging like normal, hunting, close on each sweep. So I'm not saying that the V3i is any better than the MX Sport. They both have very different frequencies that they operate on. Now, the targets, some of them were iron, where the MX Sport might have said it was an okay signal, maybe dig, where the V3i is like, nah, don't dig. So, there's a lot more data on this machine versus the MX Sport. But so far in 2019, I've hit trimes and a ton of other awesome targets. Most of my best targets for 2019 are the MX Sport, not on the V3i. Now, I mentioned when I first started metal detecting here that somebody else hunted this place. Obviously, there's targets left. That little Greek or Roman pin that I found, I would have definitely wanted to find that if I was that other person. So just like with the MX Sport being very different on signal response to the V3i, they could have had a Fisher or a Garrett or a Mind Lab or anything out there of all many different models that all respond differently. So it's just what day you're swinging and how you're holding the mouth and how these things are set, and who knows. But there's targets always left. All right, let's keep digging. Got a target here at 4 3/4, 79, 82, not all that deep. Let's check it out. Somewhere right there. Look, it's an old dime. That's pretty neat. I have one of the landowner's daughters with me. I just found a 1923 Mercury dime right here in the driveway. Not deep at all. I'm gonna go. I have a group of people here with me, so I'm gonna show them real quick. Here's a better look at the dime. 1923. And the back of it looks pretty good as well. What was going on is the whole family, Amish family, came over. They brought little children with them and brothers and sisters, and adults and stuff, the landowner, and they didn't know much about the metal detector, but they had a big interest in seeing how it worked. So I showed them what I was doing and looking in the yard, trying to find them something cool, and actually I found this dime, which is awesome. And they'd never seen a mercury dime, and you know, didn't know coins were made out of silver. And one of the little girls, you may have seen the shadow when I was digging this up, she was right on top of me, checking out, seeing what this beeping machine that was picking up these metal objects in the ground was actually doing. So it was really cool to share that. They had got a lot of excitement out of it, as well as I did. So they've actually went back down to the other house down the road. So I'm going to continue looking right here and see what else we can find. Sounds like there's two targets here. One's up at an 82. We'll just dig it. We'll see what it is. I pulled the plug out of the ground. It's primarily just gravel because this is an old driveway. You can see what I'm getting there. It's definitely in the plug. It's reading 7766. It's this. Here's what we have so far. Can't tell if it's a Lincoln scent, but the way it's coated, sure looks like a wheat scent. Here's our find. It's a 1947 wheat scent. Looks like D for Denver on the mint. So there we go. There's another old coin. Broke the MX Sport out again. Got a target here. 24.30. Right there at 4.5. Somewhere over there. I may actually see it. Somewhat cool. I don't know what's on it yet. Looks like a gold button of some sort with stuff on it, which is always awesome. Here's our find. It's a button. I can't make out what the letters say. Something agendo. I can't really tell. Looks like a German design. Back of it's got some iron to it. I definitely went over this with the V3i and it didn't like it because it's a low tone, I'm assuming. So there's a button. We're back on the V3i, and I think this is going to be the last target of the day. It's right there. It's not deep. 1 3/4. It's a low VDI. 1722 maybe. That's exactly what it is. A pop can tab. So it's not treasure.
You can get those all the time.
Yeah. So this is what we have. Pull tab. Last target of the day. So I'm going to call this house done. I'm done for the day. Spent all day out here. Found some pretty cool stuff. I would have never imagined I would have found that little pin, the mercury dime, or that wheat scent, but we did. You know, this place has been hunted a lot. I've met a lot of people today that stopped, and even a man that's already metal detected this place many times, and he couldn't believe that I found what I did. This house will be no longer. Within the next couple days, it'll be gone forever. So it was kind of cool to capture it for its last few days in existence, and find whatever we can before this place gets dispersed everywhere, and nails and trash and stuff in the ground. It makes it really tough to detect. Just remember, on these sites that have been previously hunted, all these other people have been there, so that's great. Hopefully they've been responsible metal detectorists and they've pulled out all the little pieces of trash and pull tabs and things you don't want to find, so you can crank your settings up to find those deeper coins, where ultimately you're just hunting a clean site. Somebody else may have found all the 4 and 5 inch deep coins. You know, there's more out there. They're a little deeper and harder to find, but they didn't swing every square inch. So just wherever that coil hits, depending on who hits it and who doesn't, is the one that's going to find it. So it may be you, it may be them. Just don't get discouraged. Get out and hunt them. You'll find stuff. Not every time, but sometimes you will, just like today. Until next time, thank you very much for watching my videos, and take care.